Hi, and welcome to a new video. In our previous video, we covered how to create inventory items. Now, let's look at recipes. Types of recipes. A restaurant or cafe might run one site or several. In Yuma, these are called stores. If your stores follow the same recipe, you'll create a common recipe. But if a recipe varies by location, you can create an individual recipe for that specific store. The key thing to remember is this. If no individual recipe exists, Yuma will automatically use the common one. As soon as you add an individual recipe, it overrides the common version for that store. If you're running only one site, it's best to keep things simple and use common recipes. Now, looking at how recipes apply across the system, Yuma separates items into menu items and retail items, along with two types of modifiers, general and related. Recipes can be added to all of these except retail items. When you select a retail item, Yuma automatically creates a matching inventory item instead. This is covered in the menu video. Inventory items themselves fall into two categories, ingredients and prepped items, with recipes used for prepped items. In some cases, recipes can also be created for finished products, which we explore in the production-focused videos. While the overall structure of a recipe stays consistent across menu items, modifiers, and inventory items, there are slight differences in how each one is completed. Let's walk through a menu item recipe as an example. Start by going to the items list and opening the item you want to work on. From there, head to the recipe tab and click Add Recipe. First, choose the recipe type. You'll see two options, Common and Individual. In most cases, you'll use Common. If you select Individual, you'll need to choose the specific store this recipe applies to. Next, check the recipe is based on field. This shows how many portions the recipe is designed for. By default, this is set to 1, since most menu items are sold as single portions, like 1 burger, 1 bowl of soup, or 1 serving of sauce. That said, you can set this to any number if you're preparing multiple portions at once. You'll also notice the unit of measure. In this example, it's set to pieces. This is pulled directly from the UOM field in the General tab. Now we can start building the recipe by adding ingredients. In the item name column, search for the ingredient by typing its name. If it's not there, you'll need to add it in inventory items first. It's also worth checking that the item is linked to the correct storage area. We cover this in the stock movement video. Once the ingredient is selected, enter the amount used. For items measured in pieces, use the quantity column. This can be a whole number or a fraction. For example, entering 0.5 for nori means half a sheet. For ingredients measured by weight or volume, like cucumber, rice, or oil, use the net column instead. These values should always be entered in kilograms or liters using decimals. If needed, you can also apply adjustments to your ingredients. These usually account for changes in weight during preparation or cooking. There are two types, preparation and cooking adjustments. Preparation adjustments cover things like peeling or defrosting. You can enter these as a percentage or as a value in kilograms or liters. If you've already set this up in the inventory item, Yuma will calculate it automatically when the ingredient is added. Cooking adjustments apply to processes like boiling, frying, or steaming, where weight can change during cooking. These changes are also reflected automatically in the output column. At this point, you'll see the final weight of the dish in the total output field. When everything looks right, click Save. Yuma will now use this recipe to deduct stock. Next, go to the General tab and switch on the Weight by Recipe toggle, then click Update. You'll see the gross weight and net weight fields updated based on the recipe. Just make sure that when using this feature, your UOM of output is set to either kilograms or liters. Finally, there are a few additional settings you can use. If you need to add extra costs, enter them in the Fixed Costs field. This is done manually. To include packaging, go to the Packages tab and select the relevant item. You can also define when the packaging is used by selecting the service type. For example, delivery versus dine-in. The description field can be used for kitchen instructions, especially if you're using a kitchen display system or printing recipe cards. And if you need a downloadable version, you can export both the recipe card and the calculation card to Excel by clicking the XLS icon on the right-hand side. When you're adding new menu items, you don't always need to start from scratch. In most cases, it's quicker to reuse an existing recipe, especially when the base is similar. For example, if you're adding a new roll like Philadelphia Maki or Shrimp Maki, the core ingredients like rice and nori are often the same. Yuma gives you two simple ways to build from what you already have. The first option is to duplicate an existing menu item. Go to your menu and find a similar item, such as avocado maki. Tick the item and click copy. Yuma will create a new menu item with the same setup, including the recipe. From there, update the basics, change the name, price, and any descriptions or images. Then head to the Recipe tab, expand the recipe, and click Edit. Remove any ingredients you don't need by right-clicking and selecting Remove Row, then add the new ones. For example, you might replace avocado with 40 grams of salmon, 10 grams of cucumber, and 5 grams of sesame seeds. Once you've made your changes, click Update and your new recipe is ready. The second option is to copy a recipe directly into a new item. Open your new item, for example, shrimp maki, then go to the Recipe tab and click Add Recipe. In the form, select the correct item type, such as menu items. This step is important as it defines where Yuma will pull the recipe from. Next, choose the item you want to copy, for example, avocado maki, and click Load Recipe. The recipe will populate automatically. From here, you can edit it by removing and adding ingredients as needed. When you're done, click Save. It's worth noting that this method creates a completely separate recipe. You're copying the structure, not linking the items. So even if they're similar, each recipe is independent and has its own unique recipe number. Now let's take a closer look at recipes for prepped items measured by weight. We'll use boiled rice as an example, something that's often used across multiple dishes, like rolls. Start by going to Inventory, then Inventory Items, and open Boiled Rice. In the General tab, you'll see the basic setup. For weighed items, the standard unit of measure is kilograms, and by default, both gross weight and net weight are set to 1. Next, go to the Recipe tab and open the recipe in Edit mode. In this example, the recipe includes rice, 750 grams, water, 3 liters, salt, 70 grams. Here's where it works slightly differently. For ingredients like rice, we apply what's called negative loss, meaning the weight increases during cooking rather than decreases. This is common with products like rice or pasta. For example, when rice is boiled, it absorbs water and its weight increases. To reflect this in Yuma, you enter a negative value in the cooking adjustments field. In this case, we entered minus 100% for the rice. For water and salt, the opposite happens. Water evaporates and salt dissolves, so we enter 100% cooking adjustment for those. Once applied, you'll see the final weight in the total output field. In this example, it comes to 1500 grams. There's one important step when working with prepped items by weight. Make sure to complete the recipe is based on field. This value can match the total output or be different depending on how your kitchen prepares batches. It's always best to confirm this with your chef or kitchen team. If you update the recipe later and the net weight changes, remember to manually update the recipe is based on field as well. This keeps your stock and costing accurate. Now, looking at how this works in practice, if you open a menu item like avocado maki and check the Recipe tab, you'll see that boiled rice is used as one of the ingredients. And if you follow that through, boiled rice itself is made up of rice, water, and salt. This is a great example of how Yuma connects recipes across preparation stages, from raw ingredients to prepped items, all the way through to the final dish, giving you accurate stock tracking at every step. Now let's look at prepped items measured by piece. In practice, this is used for items like a beef cutlet, where you're turning a raw ingredient, in this case beef mince, into a prepared component used in other dishes. Start by opening the beef cutlet item and go to the General tab. For prepped items by piece, the unit of measure is set to piece. Now, go to the Recipe tab. Here the recipe shows that one beef cutlet uses 85 grams of beef mince. Because the cutlet hasn't been cooked yet, there's no heat loss to account for, so the net weight stays the same as the gross weight at 85 grams. Now let's see how this fits into the full dish. Go to the items list, open the beef burger, and check the recipe tab. You'll see that the burger includes one beef cutlet. At this stage, a 15% cooking loss is applied, so the final net weight of the cutlet is reduced to 72 grams. If you then go back to beef cutlet and open its recipe tab, you'll see that it's made from beef mince, which may also have its own recipe or cost setup. That's everything you need to get started with recipes in Yuma. In the next video, we'll take this a step further and show you how to create recipes for specific operational tasks. Thanks for watching.